Hey guys, what's up? This is Jeff. So today we're going to talk about the subject of, is Hawaii overpopulated? The state, the islands, which island is more overpopulated, why this is an issue and why it keeps coming up, and why there's animosity towards people like me or you potentially coming to the island and settling as a resident. So this kind of stuff happens everywhere. It's not just isolated to Hawaii and the people are the only ones who are special that have these problems. I mean, I grew up in Arizona, and I remember when I was growing up, the towns that I lived in, they didn't want growth. They would stop Walmart and McDonald's from coming into their town, saying that, no, they would like protest this and do everything they could to prevent the growth. And I remember even the kids, they would be rude to the other kids that would come from other schools because they weren't from that town. So local mentality always is going to be there. But as I had a conversation with the local today, he basically told me the truth, and that's fine. And I've heard this numerous times. Basically, many of the Hawaiian families teach their kids, basically, I'll just give it to you straight, no sense in trying to cut around the edge, but they don't like haoles. They look at the haole, that's a foreigner, a person not from here, not a local, as the problem with their sanity, their livelihood, and stuff like that. Yeah. So if you're not from here, you are part of the problem. So meaning that, yeah, guys like me or whatever would be a part of the problem. And I had a conversation with him, candid conversation. I get local mentality, and he told me, he's like, yeah, they don't like haoles. They don't like white people. They don't like anyone not from here. And I mean, it's not just white people, because they're also kind of like that towards Micronesians. I did make a video about racism in Hawaii, and I said that basically if you feed into it, it'll happen, but if you don't feed into it, so I've taken the mentality of accepting the fact that there is going to be this prejudice against locals, but not giving it too much power over me, for sure, because I just understand why they're going to be that way. And most of it's because, they've taken the land from the locals. The locals went from, owning land to now really not having much and just continuing to watch their land go, and they pass that on to the generations. They'll even tell their kids, don't play with haoles. I've heard that said at parks, like, what did I tell you about playing with haoles? You can't trust them, this and that. So they're adults teaching the kids that. And so could you imagine that kid's got to be so conflicted? He might have, I mean, you know how kids are, they're really innocent. They'll be out of school and they'll be playing with other kids, and that kid might come across a haole boy that he likes to hang out with and play sports with, but he's in his back of his head, he's like, my dad told me don't hang out with haoles and you can't trust them. So obviously you can imagine the type of conflictions these people are pushing onto their kids by doing this, because you want to honor your father and your mother, but at the same time you're like, well, he's a nice guy, I don't get the problem with him. But anyway, back to the subject of, is Hawaii overpopulated? So from the locals' position, yeah, Hawaii's overpopulated, and it's way too overpopulated, and some of them are actually hoping that Pele comes down the mountain and just wipes out everything, okay? I mean, they don't necessarily say that they hope everybody gets killed, but they hope that all this land, this development just gets wiped out, because he said, so people get the point, because they just won't get it any other way. And I don't think he necessarily meant it in a vindictive way, but he definitely meant it. So that was coming from a local. He also said that the earth, or Hawaii, is sinking. And I did a little research on this subject to see if it is indeed sinking, and it says that it's sinking, eroding, so between erosion and sinking, one thing that I would say would make sense why it would be sinking is, like when you go to new land and you develop it, if you don't pack the land down, the road will sink and stuff when it settles. So maybe because this is new land, it's still settling, so it, still settling. So that would be maybe how someone would say that it would be sinking. He did say that Oahu is more of a settled island, so all that erosion and stuff has already kind of taken place on Oahu. It's an older island, whereas because the island of Hawaii is a bigger island or a newer island, it hasn't quite settled, and stuff like that. But the Big Island will probably be still bigger than Oahu and Maui and Kauai and all that. The other point about overpopulation that does make sense is the swells that takes place inside the cities. I mean, Waikiki has terrible traffic, or Honolulu has terrible traffic. You're starting to see it here on the Big Island. Certain catalysts drive population, or drive up demand on this island. It's when the lava's going, more people want to come here because it's the main attraction. It makes it a destination. Oahu pretty much is just a destination because it's the most popular, the gathering place. Kauai kind of has a little bit, but it comes in it's seasonal. Like, you go down to Ali'i Drive today and you'll see it's pretty swollen with traffic. You go to Maui, you can see, evening time traffic swells. Now that's not, a lot of you are saying, well, come to New York, come to Los Angeles. Okay, but at the end of the day, this is an island. That's a mainland. So islands also there's only so much land mass to put trash, to put housing, before you just kind of eat up all the island's goodies, and next thing you know, it's all developed. And a lot of people would rather see the nature than some gaudy 60-year-old hotel or condominium, and they'd rather it just be, if you come here, visit, don't live. Obviously, when I hear that and I'm like, well, I'm living here, what are you trying to say to me? And then sometimes they'll say, well, you're a local already, and I'm like, yeah, but I mean, how are you going to call me a local if I've only been here for 2.5 years? And they're like, oh, you are, but at the same time, I'm like, still from somewhere else. Even if people from here who've been here for a long time are calling me locals, that's nice, I appreciate it. But it's just something to really think about, puts things into perspective about how overpopulated and how much more population this place can take on. So yeah, sure, in a lot of videos I made them to say, like, hey, come on, come one, come all. I didn't do that, but I made it sound like, hey, it's cool. But this is another thing to keep in mind, is Hawaii overpopulated? Should it be a deterrent? No. But should it be something you know about? Yeah. Because how many more people can come? Can it handle another 100,000 in the state? Can it handle another 100,000 on Oahu? Can it handle another 100,000 here on the Big Island? And how many of those are going to be, homeless populations? Is there enough jobs even to house all these people who want to move here and just live in paradise and get out of the cold? So that would be some things to consider about overpopulation, food, consumption, and I guess put it up to you, the people who've been here, lived here, live here, plan on living here. What do you think on the issue of overpopulation? Is Hawaii overpopulated? And like I said, I had this conversation today where they said yeah, where this local guy said yeah, and he was hoping that Pele would come down the mountain. And I was like, well, what about the tsunami? The threat of a tsunami, because tsunamis have taken away towns in Hilo, and they've done it in other places. I mean, but to the local Hawaiians, they do revere Pele as a powerful force and as the one main powerful force. So hoping that a volcano eruption takes out towns, that's an interesting thought to have. But people are having that thought, especially Hawaiian locals that are disenfranchised with the haoles coming in from other places. Anyways, go ahead and subscribe to this channel if you like watching videos. You can watch other videos. You don't do what you want. See ya.